starts with a notification on your phone at 3:17 a.m. You think it is just a glitch in the security system, but the lens is staring back at you with a cold blue eye. In a quiet Ohio suburb, the Miller family felt perfectly safe. They bought the latest tech to keep the world outside, not realizing they had just invited a ghost into their machine. The first message was a whisper through the living room speaker. It said their daughter's name with a voice like crushed glass. Panic is a slow burn that starts in the pit of your stomach. The father checked the locks, but the locks were digital now. He didn't understand that a physical bolt means nothing to a hacker. Every corner of their home was covered by a watchful lens. They were being watched from the very devices they bought for protection. Privacy is a luxury we traded for a sense of convenience. The Miller family was no longer alone in their own skin. The hacker knew what they ate when they slept and what they feared. This wasn't a prank. It was a digital cage closing in. By the second week, the messages became terrifyingly specific. The voice knew the color of the mother's nightgown. It commented on the book she was reading by the fireplace. The feeling of being hunted is different when you are inside your sanctuary. They called the police, but the digital trail led to nowhere. The hacker used encrypted tunnels that bypassed every firewall. It felt like fighting a ghost that lived in the copper wires. The family began to cover their cameras with black tape, but the microphones were still listening to their whispered prayers. Paranoia turned the house into a labyrinth of suspicion. They stopped talking to each other, afraid of who was listening. Every click of the heating system sounded like a footstep. The hacker was playing with them like a predator plays with its food. They felt the weight of 1,000 eyes through the screen. The digital world had finally bled into their physical reality. There's no log out button for a home invasion. The ghost in the machine was about to take a physical form. Months ago, the Millers had hired a man to fix their network. He was polite, efficient, and knew everything about smart homes. They called him the digital fixer, a savior for the tech illiterate. He sat at their kitchen table and drank the coffee they offered. While he worked, he asked simple questions about their lives. He learned when the kids came home and where the spare key was. Trust is a dangerous thing to give to a man with a laptop. He installed backdoors into their system that no antivirus could find. To the Millers, he was just another service worker in a uniform. To him, they were a private reality show he could control. He watched them mourn their lost privacy from his basement. He saw the father cry in the garage when he thought he was alone. The digital fixer wasn't fixing anything. He was breaking them. He had become an invisible god in their small suburban universe. The betrayal of a helpful stranger is a wound that never heals. He knew the exact moment they reached their breaking point, and that was when he decided it was time to meet them again. The power went out at exactly 3:00 a.m. on a Tuesday. Silence in a smart home is louder than any alarm. Without the hum of the fridge or the glow of the router, the house felt dead. Then the smart locks all clicked open at the same time. The sound of a heavy door swinging wide hit the hardwood floor. He didn't rush. He knew he had all the time in the world. He walked through the living room like he owned the furniture. Upstairs, the father reached for his phone, but the screen was dead. The hacker had disabled their only connection to the outside world. A house is just a box of wooden nails when the tech fails. The father heard the third step from the bottom creak. It was a sound he knew well, but tonight it sounded like a scream. He realized the ghost was no longer in the machine. The intruder was holding a tablet that glowed with a pale, ghostly light. He was watching the live feed of the bedroom he was standing outside of. The hunter was finally face to face with his prey. "I told you I'd see you soon," the speaker in the hall whispered. The father lunged into the hallway, but the man was gone. Only the cold draft from the basement door remained. He followed the darkness down, step by agonizing step. The air downstairs smelled of ozone and damp concrete. In the corner, a makeshift server rack hummed with a rhythmic pulse. This was the digital fixer's real masterpiece. He hadn't just been hacking them. He had been living under them. The predator had been inches away while they slept for months. The father found a wall covered in printed photos of his family. Every photo was taken from angles that shouldn't exist. There were cameras hidden in the smoke detectors and the clocks. The entire house was a panopticon designed for their suffering. Suddenly, the basement lights flickered on, blindingly bright. The digital fixer stood by the stairs, holding a remote. He didn't look like a monster. He looked like a neighbor. "You really should have changed your admin password," he said. Then he pressed a button, and the room began to fill with gas. The father lunged into the hallway, but the man was gone. Only the cold draft from the basement door remained. He followed the darkness down, step by agonizing step. The air downstairs smelled of ozone and damp concrete. In the corner, a makeshift server rack hummed with a rhythmic pulse. This was the digital fixer's real masterpiece. He hadn't just been hacking them. He had been living under them. The predator had been inches away while they slept. Up in the bedroom, the wife woke to a terrifying sound. It was the sound of her husband's voice coming from the baby monitor. But her husband was downstairs, and the voice was begging for help. She grabbed a heavy lamp and walked toward the door. The monitors throughout the house began to play different sounds. It was a digital symphony of terror designed to disorient her. She didn't know which way to run as the voices surrounded her. Suddenly, the screens on the walls flickered to life. She saw her husband lying on the basement floor, unmoving, and she saw the man standing over him, looking directly at the camera. She realized the house was no longer a home. It was a trap. He had programmed the smart home to become a prison. The air in the hallway grew hot and hard to breathe. She fought the urge to faint as she reached for the basement door. The man on the other side was waiting for her to arrive. Technology had bridged the gap between a stranger and her soul. The final connection was about to be made in the dawn. But the digital fixer had made one fatal mistake in his code. He forgot about the old analog landline in the guest room. It wasn't connected to his network, and it wasn't smart. The daughter, hiding in the closet, had found the old phone. While the hacker played his games, she was talking to a dispatcher. The intruder was so focused on the parents, he missed the child. Outside, the silent sirens were already turning into the driveway. The police didn't use the front door. They knew better. They cut the main power line to the entire block. The hacker's screens went black, and his godhood vanished. For the first time, he was the one trapped in the dark. He heard the heavy boots of the police on the floor above. The ghost tried to run through a hidden exit he had built, but the police were already waiting at the other end. The digital predator was caught in a very physical net. He didn't look like a genius anymore, just a pathetic, lonely man. The machine had finally been turned off for good. The Millers moved out of the house the very next day. They left behind the furniture, the clothes, and the cameras. They moved to a cabin in the woods with no internet connection. But the scars of a digital invasion don't fade with a new address. Every time a branch hits the roof, he thinks it's a notification. The mother can't look at a lens without seeing a hidden eye. They live in a world of candles and analog clocks now. The digital fixer was sentenced to life in a maximum security prison. He has no access to technology, but he still smiles in his cell, because he knows he is still in their heads every single day. He proved that privacy is an illusion we all choose to believe. We are all just data points waiting to be harvested by someone. The Miller's story is a warning for the modern age of convenience. We trade our souls for the ability to turn off the lights with our voice. But once you let the ghost in, you can never truly kick it out. The machine is always listening, even when it is turned off. Sleep well tonight, if you think you're actually alone. Years later, a new family moved into the Miller's old house. They were young, tech-savvy, and loved the smart features. They didn't know about the digital fixer or the basement secret. They reinstalled the cameras and updated the security software. On their first night, they sat in the living room and felt safe. Then, A notification popped up on the husband's phone at 3:17 a.m. It was a video file sent from an encrypted source. The video showed the couple sitting on that very sofa 10 seconds ago. A voice whispered through the smart speaker behind them, "I miss this house." The digital fixer was in prison, but his code was still alive. He had created a self-learning virus that moved from house to house. He didn't need to be there to watch you anymore. The ghost in the machine had become the machine itself. You can change the locks, but you can change the signal. Look at your phone right now. Are you sure it's just a screen? Somewhere in a dark room, a light just turned on for you.